Welcome to Crystal Gold Mine in Kellogg, Idaho. Let's step through the old portal here and go way back in time. Be careful coming through. This is where we like to capture how the old miners back in the day even decided to drill and blast in a mountain. How would you decide to drill and blast in a mountain? South Fork of the Coeur River is on the other side of the I-90 freeway. Back when this was being done, imagine hardly anybody around, a lot of wilderness and the river just flowing through the valley. They could have been panning for gold. And the technique for the hard rock miners, they like going upstream when they were panning, having fun getting gold in their pans. Keep going upstream. All of a sudden, the source of gold stopped. Going upstream like that, where the source of gold stopped, possibility where that gold could be coming from, so they use that as a reference to start drilling and blasting in the mountain. More than likely, it was visible quartz out here, because gold originates in quartz rock. Not all quartz has gold, but when the miners came in here, this is what they were hoping to find. Here's the initial quartz vein that was found in this mine, this white rock. And it looks like they had fun following quartz leads in this whole mine. We'll capture that. We got some highlighted spots still visible to the surface in a couple spots. The cement was put in for the tour, but look what's in it. Iron rails. For miners to have iron rails in the early 1880s around these parts, they were doing pretty good. Miners seeking their fortune in the Northwest were lucky to have materials to make old rails like this out of wood. You see a lot of the old mine photos where wooden rails were made. The mine car was found refurbished, old hand-push cart. Imagine hand-pushing the cart up and down the tracks. Empty mine car uphill, full mine car downhill. Back in the old days, in the early 1900s, Bunker Hill was one of our main silver mines around the valley. They were known to do exploratory drifts all around here looking for other opportunities. So we figured they equated this possibly being related to that. Imagine this being very remote, rugged country. Anybody who was in a source of gold, odds were they were probably keeping something like this a secret. They wanted to protect themselves and protect their gold. Pretty good mystery behind the mine. It was caved in pretty good. A lot of fun stuff found. Candles and hand stills. Leads a lot of us to the impression they were coming back. 1991, the owner of the property saw a lot of water coming out of it. Hoping to tap into spring water for drinking like a lot of folks like to do, he took a backhoe and started digging at the hill. And that happened in 1991. Then comes along a retired miner by the name of Bill Lane. Grew up in Butte, Montana. He was a gyppo miner like my grandfather and other friends and family. A gyppo miner is a nickname we call the contract miners that drill and blast for the mines. The same name was for the contract loggers and stuff. They just bid on different jobs and travel. He was able to purchase the property, got his tools he made a living on, and started thoroughly cleaning the mine out, wanting to do educational tours for our friends and families. As they thoroughly cleaned it out, the tracks got further exposed in here, finding old candles and hand stills, a little bit of quartz with gold, so he had a little fun cleaning his living his lifetime dream out. Notice how they engineered this old mine. They maintained a vertical rib, a one-arm sweep pattern off the natural formation all the way through the mine with hardly any timber required. We like to call this a ball mine. We're walking an adit. The entrance of a mine from portal to ceiling, usually you don't have an opening at the other end. So the main horizontal entrance like this to a mine is referred to as an adit. I see that in crossword puzzles quite a bit. It also allows the water to drain out back in the day. This is called a crosscut drift. That's a known technique to explore out and actually try to find a better source. When we're drilling and blasting underground, excavating, when the miners are doing that, that process is called stoping. So when they don't pan out or something, a lot of times they're backfilled for miner safety. Or if they're structurally sound, like this slip in here, that's natural hard rock and they're safe, they're taken advantage of for some kind of room, storage or even a lunch room, because it takes too long to get miners way back outside. And so it's called a stope. This is why Bill and Judy named it the Crystal Gold Mine, for what was found growing in here. They're kind of fun crystals. They're getting longer up further with the extra moisture. People refer to these as bacon crystals. They look like strips of bacon as they grow. And actually, if you could come right over here and stand where my light's circling, I'd like to keep you back in time and keep your technology away from you, because they didn't have technology like we have it today. They didn't have flashlights, they didn't have electricity for lamps, they didn't have anything. And what's really fun is to wave your hand in front of your face because you can't see it move. We could be in here for hours, you'd never adjust to it. Imagine trying to find gold back in the old days with no technology like we have today. Okay. This is called a miner's candlestick holder. The blacksmiths made these. You see different shapes and sizes depending on how they were made. And they'd stick them between the rocks like that when they were working. And that's what was found in the mine as candles, which is quite something. What I mean by that is actually back in the day, imagine nobody around, no resources or anything close by, days travel at least to go get supplies. If you were in these mountains back in the day trapping or prospecting, you were probably using grease lamps. Any form of grease you could come up with creating a grease lamp. So having candles is pretty good evidence of doing good. And I'm packing a spare like they did, not easy to come by. They'd want to go through great lengths to conserve it. And they were using a wood match because they didn't have these fun lighters like we have today. Imagine working in the old days with no technology, using a grease lamp or a candle to find gold. We do adjust after a while. Again, they'd want to conserve them as much as possible. Not easy to come by. Bill's in here with his friends and family cleaning it out and discovering things like these candles and came across evidence of dynamite instead of black powder. Could you imagine lighting the dynamite fuse, trying to keep the candle lit while you're running out of here? They were known to have some tricks. The more I learn about it, one of them, if it was an option, they'd get everything ready to go, light the dynamite, and grab the mine car and follow the car down the tracks. A lot of us believe they were going in and out of these old mines in the dark as much as possible to conserve their candles. And I'll show you how they were able to discover and actually follow quartz leads in the old mines without using the candles much. A lot of common sense. The hand stills they used to drill their holes, they'd want to keep them sharp. That blacksmith was an important job, and a lot of old camps had a blacksmith. They can't see very well. They probably blasted the last time they were here. When they're drifting back in, they were doing a technique called scaling. They'd want to hear that nice, solid, sharp sound as they're coming in, tapping on rocks all around them. If it sounds like a dull thud or a hollow sound, hey, there's loose material. They can't see that very well, but it sounds funny. That's when they're getting their picks and tools and start scaling all that loose rock off. Working hard, scaling all that loose rock back down that nice, solid rock before they start all over drilling and blasting. Some historians believe they would like to hold their hand stills for safety like this. That's the proper way for safety. A lot of them didn't. Our natural instincts to hold them like this. But they had tricks. They'd like to use their thumbnail to glare off the candlelight and give them a target to swing at as you start drilling. Imagine in your hand still and you slip in the old days, hardly anybody around. That type of injury might put you out of business. So the safe way was considered to actually hold them like this. They'd hit it, turn it a quarter of a turn, hit it, turn it a quarter of a turn, and that's how they drilled that hole in candlelight. That quarter of a turn like that is really important to maintain the round hole because these hang up easy if you don't do it that way. This is called a starter drill. They start them with the short ones, move on to longer hand stills. Keep single jacking, quarter of a turn, drilling holes all day. Some historians actually believe at this point, they blow out their light source to conserve them and finish drilling holes in the dark. This is called a miner spoon. Miner spoons used to go in the hole, clean out all the drill cuttings and make room for the explosives. There was probably no assayer's office yet. They didn't have no geologist on their team. They were known to have tricks. They'd like to clean them out and save all their drill cuttings in their pans or any container. That way when they're going outside in the daylight, they could see what kind of rocks they're drilling in, and that's how they navigated in the mountains looking for gold back in the day. On the left-hand side of the rib, we got the mineral iron coming through. So it's fun to capture the minerals in this mountain that captures our industries. That's what iron looks like when it rusts. We got that orange iron coming through. On the right-hand side, this gets a lot of photos. We got some purple smithsonite forming over the calcite like that. All this smithsonite you're seeing in this mountain, in this old mine, is named after James Smithson, the founder of the Smithsonian Institute. He was quite a mineralogist and chemist back in the day. We keep this one covered up. It's really fragile and actually quite rare to see. This really captures how we became one of the world's largest producers of silver and recognizes the Silver Valley in Idaho. Grayish black material. Notice this one right here, it's got little wires coming out of that. That's wire silver. What's exciting about wire silver, it's almost pure silver. Very high grade ore body of silver in these mountains to have that represents our industry and history. If you were here prior to the 1884 in these mountains prospecting, that was barren waste. There was nothing they could do with silver yet. Price of silver wasn't there. Nobody around, no place to process it. They would have had to go through great lengths to get the concentrate way east down to San Francisco, south. So all they were after was the gold back in the day prior to 1884 in the valley. We got a couple spots here. Please don't pick at them. They're good for education. We'd like to let you rub on them for fun. Let's kind of rub on soft yellow stuff that's embedded in the quartz vein here. It's nice, smooth, soft yellow stuff. Probably got a little silver in it. It's not as yellow as you'd like to see it, but it's nice and smooth from rubbing on it. You go a little place little further up here. Here's another big chunk that we rub on. This one's got shelling, cubicle shape, structure, sharp edges. That cubicle shape and structure identifies brittle material. That bright brittle stuff will get you. All that glitters is usually not gold. Quite the interesting quartz vein that's still in here that nobody came back to, whoever they were, for some reason. What's funny though is they actually scaled up to a beautiful slip, perfect spot, turned out to be a nice slip they followed, and they followed this quartz vein down 60 feet this time. And there's a ladder they built out of trees down in there, preserved from the cold water. Old little ladder built out of trees. They stoled up next to it with timber. We figure it goes down 60 feet. Nobody's ever been to the bottom of it. This was the hoist bucket that was found. It used to be a bucket anyways. Don't know where the metal rings that hold them old sides in or something. That used to be the bottom and it's the sides. And then they had to deal with water, obviously. It wasn't full like this, but they had to contend with the water while they were mining in here. That's why they like going downhill like this. This one caused a lot of discussions with the historians we've been involved with. Pretty fun discussions, the old wood plug and this hand pump. Imagine coming in here having somebody pump that, let it siphon action, let it drain. Unique thing about this hand pump, it was very expensive and hard to come by. Even if it was related to exploratory drift or the old days, it shouldn't have been left in here. One of the theories is to blast the hillside in, go back to get family, hoping to come back to Idaho territory and homestead with a possible beautiful future to raise your family. Didn't make it for health reasons. They didn't know, and we've learned from them over the years, the average lifespan for a miner doing old mining like this back in the day was known to be 5 to 8 years once you started, especially the old Widowmaker drills with the compressed air and no water flow, which there was no evidence. It looks like hand stealing in here. Mad Hatter's disease, using mercury to separate the gold out of the material, so they could have had health problems. So even though we still have a true mystery behind the mine of who actually factually did this, what the mine does for us today, and continues to do that, is since 1997, it's been educating folks on the true old ways of how things got started around these parts.